is maybe Shiva. Yeah, I mean, sort of like but like I said, it's very, very complicated. But I think the other thing as well is what, you know, people have to remember is that, you know, we talk about the Greek Pantheon being a mythology, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. You know, they believed in these gods, yeah. And in fact,
Yeah.
today, many people still worship these gods. And in fact, we still worship these gods. You know, if you take into consideration that, you know, Jesus is based on a Greek god, yeah, then
Mhm.
are we really worshipping Jesus, or are we worshipping the Greek god? Yeah.
Which one is he? Which Greek god is Jesus?
Well, he's the Dionysus, you know, Bacchus,
Oh, I see.
yeah, you know, so
Hang on. So did he die on the cross or?
well, this is where it gets really complicated because um, many of the Greek stories were cherry picked. Yeah, okay,
Mm.
but there's a really famous story um, about the god who was tied to the rock, and the eagle came to eat his liver.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
isn't that Prometheus? Prometheus.
yeah, yeah, and he
He was
came
the
back.
one that he was the one that told humanity. He's Enki, who told humanity, who gave humanity that extra little bit of intelligence, and he got punished for that. I agree with him being punished for that. Don't you?
I thought it was fire, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think he had his
No,
liver pecked out by
yeah,
what?
I think that was that not Adonis? Yeah. Okay.
I, no.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I mean, there are there are so many gods and there are so many stories, you know. But like Adonis, he was celebrated for the death and rebirth. Yeah. Okay. The mortal Adonis died one day out on a hunt. Aphrodite was distraught because he died, and coerced Zeus to bring him back to life. Yeah. However, there was the god who was um, who was tied to the rock, and he came back to life as well. That was his punishment. You know, sort of like, so it's, but like I said, it's a really, really yeah, it's Prometheus. You know, he was punished by Zeus, and he was, you know, he was because he stole fire to give it to mankind, and then
Yeah, he
he was
should
changed
have
to the,
done. He shouldn't
yeah,
have.
yeah,
Hail
he was changed.
Zeus, hail Zeus.
Yeah, and he
Oh,
was chained to the rocks in the Caucasus Mountains, and every day an eagle came
good,
to eat his liver, and
good.
each night his liver would
Oh
regrow,
God.
you know,
Oh.
and he had to endure his punishment for eternity. Yeah,
So
okay.
this is Enki and Enlil, right? Enlil didn't want humans to be upgraded, and Enki wanted them upgraded, and Zeus is Enlil and Yahweh.
Well, Yahweh is even more complicated, isn't it? Because Yahweh essentially is they think he's more related to the Roman Vulcan god, you know, the god of the volcanoes. Yeah.
What's he called?
Well, Vulcan. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and they think that sort of Vulcan, Yahweh are pretty much the same god. When you hear them talking about Yahweh in the Old Testament, that they do describe a volcano. Yeah.
do they?
You know, yeah, yeah. I mean, everything about, you know, everything about Yahweh is volcanic. The rumbling, you know, the fire, you know, if you look at the story of Moses, the story of Moses pretty much describes a volcanic action. So yeah, it's not what you think. Like I said, unfortunately, like I said, I'm not really a worshipper of the Greek Pantheon, but I've read a great deal on it, but it's so complicated because there are so many gods, and the other thing as well is there are so many interpretations of them as well.
So you think? Can I ask you? Do you believe that? You said the Earth had the calf surrounding it. Do you believe when we die, we go into the calf, or do you believe we go through the calf and out into some big universe? And do you believe that out in the universe there's loads of gods, or do you think there's just one?
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends really what you follow. I mean, I spend
Well,
pretty
what do you
much.
think?
What do I
You, what,
think? What do I think?
yeah.
I think we are all Brahma, in all honesty. Yeah. Okay. And what that means is that everything that we see, everything that we do, we create. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And if you think about it, do you live in the moment? Well, it's impossible to live in the moment. You can live in the immediate moment, but you cannot live in the moment because the moment is always moving. Yeah. Okay.
You're
The
right.
minute you say now, it's not now. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you're not in the moment, where are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a really important question because if you're not in the moment, then perhaps you're dreaming this moment. And if you're dreaming this moment, yeah, then you are creating this moment. And if you are creating this moment, then essentially you are the God. Yeah. This is where it gets really dangerous. But interestingly, there was a scientific experiment carried out to try and prove or disprove whether or not we are gods, and it was called the Kozyever mirror. It was a Russian scientist who had spent over something like 4 or 5 years in solitary confinement, and when he came out, he invented a mirror. Okay, it wasn't really a mirror; it was highly polished aluminium, and
Right.
people who sat in this highly polished aluminium lost the identity of who they were, and they could see various aspects of time. They could see forward and they could see backwards. However, all of them suffered excruciating pain. Yeah. Okay. But all the people saw the same visions. All the people saw the same symbols, and all the people saw themselves throughout the entire spectrum of the known universe, living as different people. That was really, really interesting. Yeah.
And what is that called for the reader who wants to look it up? The listener, sorry.
Well, I can spell it Kozyerev, mirror. You can look it up. It's really fascinating. I mean, literally, the CIA and the FBI actually investigated this mirror, and yeah, but once again, it turns into the Greek Pantheon, because if you are truly living throughout time, then you're going to have many different forms, but you are still going to be, if you like, the same God. Yeah. Okay. But you have different identities. And to me, it makes perfect sense that if you are creating this world, if you are creating everything that you can see, feel, and believe, then you are going to recreate yourself many, many times. And that would make sense of the Greek Pantheon, and so and it makes sense of the Hindu Pantheon as well, as why there are so many gods.
Oh, I see, because they're recreating themselves over and over.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, that
So
makes
why, hang on,
absolute perfect sense.
yes, why do they recreate themselves over and over?
Well, I think it's like anything else. It's sort of like it depends how you see yourself when you're born. Yeah. Okay. You know, I mean, it's sort of like, you know, if you're born as Zeus and you didn't make a very job of it, maybe you should be born as Hercules and you didn't make a good job of that. Maybe you want to be born as Hera. Maybe you want to be born as any one of the Greek pantheons. I mean, this is the whole thing. This is why I'm 100% certain that the Greek pantheon is actually more Indian than it is Greek, really, because essentially it follows the philosophy of what the Indians are into, as opposed to what the Greeks are into, for what I presume the Greeks are into. But like I said, I mean, the whole thing about the Greek pantheon is that it's been terribly Christianized as well over the years. So we don't truly know what really is the Greek pantheon. You know, because quite a lot of the gods and the goddesses have had the Christianized treatment. So we don't actually know. It's the same with the Hindu religion as well, because when the English invaded and the Portuguese invaded, literally they destroyed what we understand as Hinduism, and they even sort of twisted quite a lot of the gods and tried to make out that the gods were actually Christian. Say, for example, Krishna, and you know, and they tried to say, oh yeah, Krishna was really Jesus, etc., etc. You know, it's like I said, it's very difficult understanding what is the original pantheon and what is the, you know, what is the Christianized version of it. You know, I mean, sort of like, you know, Tartarus, the, you know, the god of the underworld, he has obviously become Satan, you know, at some stage in the event. But what was the original Tartarus? What was his what was his real role? I don't think we'll ever know, really, because, you know, because of the influence of Christianity, which is you know, which is a shame. But like I said, you know,
What do you think of Christianity?
well, essentially, if you read the classics, the Greek classics, and you read the Roman classics, and you understand Mithras, you can see that essentially it's been heavily influenced by many religions. Yeah. And, you know, and you have to remember that you know, people forget this, is that Joshua, Isha, or Jesus, whatever you want to call him, he was not a Christian, he was a Jew. Yeah. So he wasn't promoting Christianity, he was promoting his interpretation of the Torah. Yeah. And once again, we don't know what the Torah is, because the Romans pretty much destroyed all the original Torahs. You know, so it's, you know, yeah. So
why did they do that? Why did they do that?
Well, it's control, isn't it? Yeah. You know, it's absolutely control. I mean, it happens today. I mean, for example, many people read Carlos Castaneda. Yeah. I don't know if did you read Carlos Castaneda?
No.
No, I read about 4 pages of it before I realized it was garbage. And essentially, it's come out that Carlos Castaneda, the man, was in fact a CIA asset. Yeah. Okay. So, but they wrote this book with his philosophy, and of course, this philosophy of Carlos Castaneda is how the FBI and the CIA wanted people to behave at that certain time in history. And it's exactly the same with the Bible. I mean, for example, with the Bible, it's we're like Jesus is asked the question, what shall I do if I am smited? You turn the other cheek. Yeah. Okay. Well, of course, if you're the oppressor, then you want to train the people not to fight you back. Yeah. So of course, having a god which turns the other cheek is, shall we say, advantageous. Do you not think?
Yes.
You know, the other examples of that is go the extra mile. Jesus is asked by his apostles, "What if I'm made to carry the Roman?" One of the things they used to do was the Romans used to make somebody who was stood near them carry their equipment while they marched. And Jesus said, "Oh yeah, if they ask you to do a mile, then go the extra mile." Yeah, okay. Sort of like, Christianity was the only religion, or one of the few religions, to introduce the passive God. Yeah. Jesus is quite passive. Where if you look at the gods of the Greek Pantheon, they're pretty much warlike. They don't stand any messing around, even after they've been really Christianized. So it's very, like I said, it's very, very difficult to get down to what really is the proper pantheon. We know the names and we know what they're called now, but what really were they? Yeah.
So do you believe at death that we go into the calf?
Well, I mean, the calf translates to head. I don't know if you know that. Did you know that?
No.
Skull. It actually translates to skull. Yeah. Okay. I found this out only a couple of years ago, and that completely twists what we understand the calf is. Yeah. Like if the calf is the skull and the jinn live in the skull, once again, we're back to the Brahman thing where we create them. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, sort of like only something can come into being if we create it. Yeah. Like when you write a story, the characters come into being because you create them. Yes.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And even if you write about people that you still create them as you see them. Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
So anything that we create, we must be the creators. And if we are the creators, then it's obvious that we are God. I mean, if you think about this, everything that we do, we create. For you to have a child, you have created the possibility that you want the child. Yeah. Okay. If you want a car, you've created the possibility of wanting the car. If you want a job, it's the same thing. You create the possibility. Yeah. And also the other side of the coin is that, and this is what people have real problems with, is that if you have any disasters and problems, essentially you've created them yourself.
Yes. Well, that's what that guy who rang me yesterday said to me about creating, that when I was, blamed by my mother and hit by her, that and she locked me in a cupboard, that I told the universe that I was not actually human and that I was worthless. And by telling them that with that belief, then it tells the universe to treat you in that way.
Well, the thing is if you've created the universe, yeah. Like, for example, if we say now is gone, yeah, okay. If you've created this state, then you've created everything, okay. So any hell that you've gone through, you've created. Any heaven you're experiencing, you're also creating that as well. I mean, this is why the like the Greek and the Indian pantheon, is so very, very difficult to understand. Like I said, I think it's the stories we are left with have been so corrupted from what they originally meant that we really have no idea what they're about, seriously, you know. And it's, you know, but like I think the closest we've probably got to it is